Hey everybody, what's up? So I saw something on Twitter today that I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about, or rather I saw it the other day, but it's kind of been like sitting with me a little bit and it bothers me for some reason. So actually, it's not just for some reason. I think the reason why is going to be pretty obvious the more we fucking talk about this. But Terrance McKinney quote tweeted Barstool Sports, and the headline of the article that he quote tweeted said, Terrance McKinney gets knocked out cold just hours after claiming Barstool didn't know sports. Right? And if you read the article, which I'm going to do for you, the article says, holy shit, remember the name Ismael Bonfim, ladies and gentlemen. That was one hell of a UFC debut. Bonfim went in there and pieced up McKinney, knocked his mouth guard out against the cage, and put him out cold. All that right there, acceptable. That's good. Like, that's the truth. That's the reality of what happened. If you're talking about reporting or doing journalism or what the fuck ever you're doing, I don't know what this is. This isn't... whatever. That's fine. But then he follows up, stiff as a board, all in caps. Just moments later, complete faceplant, Ric Flair style. Come on. Like, the way you titled the article is bad enough. Just because you guys got in a skirmish, because this guy basically had self-confidence and thought he was going to win this fight, said that you guys don't know sports. Which, reading this article, if this is the person that they're letting write their MMA content, they're Robbie Fox. I'm completely in Terrance McKinney's corner. They clearly don't know sports. And even if he thinks he does know, like, the MMA stuff, right? Like the high picture stuff. Like, I know what's going on with the matchups, and I think I know who's going to win. You clearly don't know what these people are putting into this every single day and how hard they work, or you would never be writing articles saying stuff like this, right? This is a discipline and like an art that I think really deserves respect when you talk about it. And say what you want about enjoying watching a knockout occur. I have never taken personal joy ever in watching somebody else lose consciousness. Because when you're watching Terrance McKinney get knocked out in that fashion, what I'm thinking is, holy fuck, yeah, super impressive by Bonfim. That was a hell of a knockout. But what you are thinking is, oh my God, what are the repercussions for the rest of this kid's career? And really what I think about is, man, what you really just watched right there is simulated death. Right? Like that argument Uriah Faber was having with Dominic Cruz. And he's like, this is a simulated death match and you haven't simulated anybody's death yet, right? Like, it's kind of true. That's what happens. And that's what it makes me think about when they're lying there. Like, this is really what's happening. It's in that opportunity, or like in that moment, Bonfim, really what you saw is the opportunity for Bonfim to take McKinney's life. That's how this works, right? That's what it is. That's why there's a referee in there to stop it. And that's why we have rules and stuff around it. Right? But granted, it's a brutal sport. And what I think about is, how does this impact him? I've thought the same thing about Usman when he got knocked out, right? You're like excited because, like Joe Rogan says, it's the head injury business. And when somebody gets fucking dinged, that's exciting to fight fans. But when you're writing an article like this, let's keep reading on too. To continue the article, some were actually criticizing the matchmaking here, thinking McKinney would be too much for Bonfim in his UFC debut. Some, maybe. But let's talk about that line for a second even, right? Like, there were some people who thought that, sure, maybe. But those are only people who didn't look into Bonfim's background. You want to know, there are 3 losses on Bonfim's record. The first guy is Jefferson Lucas, right? Who the fuck, right? His first name should be his last name, and his last name should be his first name. He has them mixed up. 2 is Adriana Moraes, who, if you guys don't know who that is the former champion over in 1 who defeated Demetrius Johnson. And the other loss on his record is Renato Moicano. After he lost to Renato Moicano in 2014, he went on to win 12 fights in a row in LFA, Jungle Fight, Dana White Contender Series before he lands his debut against McKinney. So this guy is no fucking joke. So some people might have been criticizing, yes, but the people who were criticizing it were people who weren't looking into the background of McKinney, right? So reading on with the article, I'll start it over. Some were actually criticizing the matchmaking here, thinking McKinney would be too much for Bonfim in his UFC debut. But obviously that wasn't the case whatsoever. Bonfim is a monster and had McKinney gassed after only a round. Oh, and McKinney was telling everyone who would listen that he'd receive a fight against Paddy the Baddy with a win here. He's a bit obsessed with getting that fight, and I'm pretty sure he hates Barstool because we sponsor/support Paddy. And I wonder if he'll regret looking past Bonfim. A lesser man would bring up this exchange with Jack Mack from earlier in the night and dance on Terrance McKinney's grave right now, right? And then he does bring it up. He posts the screenshots from it. But I won't do that. I don't want to kick the guy while he's down after doing it, right? You can look at the exchange that he posted. I will say that McKinney wearing Brazilian colors against the Brazilian in Brazil was lame as hell to me. It just came off like a desperate attempt for some cheers. Wear any other color and let your opponent have the yellow/green, my guy. I'll stop harping on him, though. He's had a rough enough night as it is. Genuinely hope he's okay. Maybe just don't pick fights with Jack Mack. He seems to get the last laugh more often than not. Get fucked. Get fucked. Get fucked. That's all I have to say to this kid. This Robbie Fox kid who, like, again, if he didn't write the article the way that he did, and I'm teaching jiu-jitsu now, right? So I'm always listening to my professors, and in other areas of my life, I'm trying to take the high road, right? But in this particular instance, this Robbie Fox kid who wrote this article, who if you look, again, I don't want to start like going through like personal attacks on somebody, right? Like I don't want to stoop there, but if you're writing about MMA and you're writing about it in this way, you're kind of inviting one, and I'm going to give you one. He is the nerdiest fucking kid I've ever seen in my life. He has clearly never done anything physically challenging, and he's never done it for a very long period of time, right? And he doesn't know what that kind of discipline would take and what it would require. I went to advanced class last night in the gi, and I rolled for 45 minutes, and I felt like I was going to fucking die afterwards, right? Professional fighters stick to a regime where they are constantly honing in their physical abilities and putting themselves through rigorous training sessions, and it bothers me when they go into a fight and things don't go their way and they pay serious consequences despite all the work that they just did. And some little fucking dork like this starts writing articles personally attacking and taking joy in the fact that somebody did get knocked out. That's what bothers me, right? Like, this is not how the sport deserves to be covered. And I think it's fucking disgusting by Barstool. Like, I think it's downright fucking, like, I think it's gross. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And I think McKinney's totally in the right. And if you've ever watched the documentary that the UFC put out on McKinney, how could you not like the kid? All he's doing is calling for a fight against Patty, right? And that's why this beef between him and Barstool is blew up, or like brewed up. And I am telling you, Patty does not want that fight. Barstool can say whatever they want, and I'm a Patty the Batty fan. I like watching him. I like the fucking, like, all the stuff he does. He's talking shit. He seems like a genuinely good person. I saw the ring video of him. But I'm telling you what, man. People aren't realizing, too, like I said, think about how good this Bonfim cat is. How do you think Patty would have fared against Bonfim, or would fare against Bonfim? Not well. Not well. I think after what we saw, you got to remember, guys, Terrance McKinney had Drew Dober in real trouble, hurt him on the feet, and Drew Dober's a high-level kickboxer. McKinney hurt him on the feet and just exerted himself because he's a little bit green still. But McKinney, if he can just tighten things up, if he can find somebody to tighten stuff up, has all the tools that you want to see in a future champion. He's a big guy for 155. He has incredible power. He has a very strong wrestling background dating back to high school. He just doesn't do some of the little stuff right now. Like I said, he's overextending a bit. He needs to tighten up defensively and tighten his movement. You'll see him when he dodges out of the way of stuff, he just goes really big and then brings his arms out too wide. Like, if he could tighten all of that up, he's world championship caliber. I think he has all the tools. It's just about refining everything. Right? So with Barstool, and then they're acting like they're happy because he has this beef with Patty and all this. The whole thing just bothers me. But my point is that I don't think that a matchup between Terrance McKinney and Paddy Pimblett would go well for Paddy Pimblett. And I know that's not in the cards right now because this loss obviously does set Terrance McKinney back. But I'm telling you, man, the kid is still fucking dangerous, and he's still world class. And I think Patty has a lot of things that are the things that he does wrong because he's so grappling heavy are so clearly grained into his style. It's going to be really hard to get him to stop lifting his chin when he strikes. You can clean his striking up a little bit, but when the fight happens, instinct's going to take over. And I think some of his habits are drilled in too deep. McKinney has the stance and everything that you need. Everything looks good. His hands are it just needs to be tightened, right? I feel like with Patty on the feet, you got to do a complete overhaul, right? And McKinney has a good wrestling background too. So, fuck, man. I don't know. I just feel like the way they wrote the article was disrespectful. I feel for Terrance McKinney, who just went through, that's a tough loss, and it's tough. He's young too, and I don't like seeing young guys eat knockout losses like that, right? That's tough. It's tough. I would much rather prefer, I know it's not as exciting in terms of watching it, but I prefer they go the distance as opposed to stuff like that when they're young, because you hate to see stuff like that. But Good news is McKinney is young. He can rebound. I don't know. Kind of got sidetracked here, but yeah, the whole thing just bothered me. And yeah, fuck Robbie Fox. Fuck that kid who wrote that. That's how I feel. Anyway, I'm signing off, guys. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys later.